Naturally Prosperous Woman podcast. I'm your host, Tara Preston, founder of the Akashic Women's School, mentor to new paradigm leaders for over a decade, and teacher of divine prosperity consciousness. This podcast is dedicated to empowering women leaders around the world who desire to tap into their authentic feminine power for more money, magnetism, and of course, impact. It's a platform for women leaders wanting to embrace their natural abilities to create, lead, and flow, unlocking their inherent potential for prosperity and living in alignment with their truest selves. Because it's your birthright to flourish in the naturalness of the woman you were born to be. Thanks so much for being here. Let's dive in. Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Naturally Prosperous Woman podcast. I'm your host, Tara Preston. Welcome. Today, I want to talk about the ecstatic woman's wealth path. And this is a topic that's actually near and dear to my heart and something that I have been connecting to and cultivating for probably the last 2 or 3 years. So if you know me, you know that I've been on this path for a good 13 years. My very first business was Sacred Feminine Path 13 years ago. I remember using that word feminine, and it was a turnoff for many, many people. I often felt like people weren't taking my work seriously. It was a whole thing. But about 3 years ago, I experienced this kind of pivot/awakening in my life, the very, very beginning. And part of the reason for that is because I started to experience a certain level of contentment and growth in my life. A lot of the goals and the vision that I had really started to come to completion. And at the same time, I started to feel a sense of boredom in my life. My business was humming along at the 15 to 20K mark. I was pushing multi-six figures. And, for me, that was that I don't have a lot of overhead in my life. So for me, it doesn't take a lot to make a lot of money and experience a lot of overflow. And I've intentionally set up my life to be very simplistic and very nourishing. But I want to backtrack because I had a soulful business that actually started to feel soulless. And my life was just in this place where to a lot of degrees I was feeling really happy, content. My vision had manifested in terms of having a business that did feel nourishing in some ways. Things were really great with me and my husband. Life was feeling spacious to a degree. I had a really full clientele, and even under all that, though, there was just this general sense of dissatisfaction and this general sense of boredom, and I couldn't quite figure it out. And at the same time, I was really dropping into this, my primordial power, right? My primordial power, really cultivating a deeper connection with yoni, with womb. I was talking a lot more about like pleasure and embodiment. And still, I felt this general sense of boredom and dissatisfaction. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And that feeling didn't go away for quite a while. In 2021, I believe, I was hacked. So that kind of brought on this major pivot in my business. And it also allowed me to see that even to the degree of money that I was making, my business, still actually now looking back, really wasn't structured in a way that gave me the ultimate level of freedom and joy. The ultimate level of freedom and joy. So I truly believe on this evolutionary path, on this journey of really embodying more and more fully the naturally prosperous woman, that it's a journey of soulful evolution and feminine embodiment, right? And we're always looking at where the edge of our capacity to experience more life is. Okay, and so every every evolution is a call. It's a call to move through, bust through, untangle more, heal more of our shadow stuff, heal more of our pain edges, feel more, come into a deeper sense of connection and realignment and reemerge, right, into this new experience that more fully aligns to the truth of who we are. And I've done that journey of evolution for many times. It's the work that I do with that I have done with many, many women and continue to do with many, many women. And I know that we all hit these capacity issues, right? The capacity issue is it's the vibrational limitation of how we allow ourselves to experience the joy of more life, of more life force flowing through us, of more joy, of deeper intimacy, of greater levels of freedom. So for me, I kept looking at my business as like, I don't know, it was like I was really like, why is my business not like giving me that sense of satisfaction? And why is my business not lighting me up? And it was really a deep inquiry over, a good couple of years. And it took some deep digging, and it took, I really, now that I look back and through my work, it's very, very deep work, working at the level of soul and truly working at the level of soul when I work with my clients. We're doing a lot of deep work, like through, family of origin work, shadow work, past life work. There's a lot of dropping into different aspects of ourselves that we didn't even know we had access to. So that's a lot of the space that I'm holding, and also was the same invitation for me, right? And also at the same time, looking at what needed to be integrated and what needed to come into alignment in order for me to really identify where the incongruency was, right? Like, where was the opportunity? And so ecstatic wealth was a term I started playing around with 3 years ago. Gosh, I can't even remember. It really was a deep and a much more slow initiation. And what I started to unravel and connect to through the course of my journey, and this is something very similar that we drop into in my private work, the Feminine Phoenix Rising, 9 Moons Soul Initiation, and Ecstatic Wealth Path, right? And also through the Fully Awakened Woman, which is sometimes it's a group program that I run in the summers. But it is this realignment to, not just the vision that we are called to live through invitation by spirit. To me, it was the integration of my primal power and my divine power, right? And for me to actually drop into this in a way where I was expanding beyond what I had known previously and where my capacity was, it took some rewiring, right? I really had to go deeper into the essence and nature of what that looked like. And at the same time, there was a lot of clearing and healing and releasing at the level of family of origin and even my current family matrix. Right? There's a reason why when we do this work, why it's so powerful to have containers, right? Where I can hold a container of transformation for you, because this is such deep work. And as we really step into both our divine power and our primal power, right, which is our full creative potential and power, there's a lot of ripple effects. There's a lot of ripple effects through our lineage, through our family of origin. It's very, very powerful. Through our primary relationships with other women. It can bump up against a lot because we're saying yes to the edge of our evolution, but in a lot of ways, the edge of the evolution of the feminine on the planet. So it's a new consciousness. It's a new space to really embody and hold. Right. And also, again, why it's so potent and so powerful to have the container held. So this concept of ecstatic wealth, right? And I remember a couple of years ago really feeling like ecstatic wealth had to do with more money. Well, did it? Did ecstatic wealth have to do with more money? So through this journey, in my mind, it kind of did. And so I kind of got a little bit caught up too in like where the next income breakthrough was. The next income breakthrough did come, but it wouldn't be for a little while. Because, and I know this, I know that when we change our vibrational set point, when we come into a new vibrational experience of who we are in a very integrated and embodied way, the prosperity naturally shows up. But it shows up in a way that is congruent to our truth. And when life and money is congruent to our truth, we feel a certain level of ecstatic freedom in our lives, right? And I know for me that part of my capacity issue actually had to do with levels of pleasure, but actually more so cellular health and self-care. It's actually where I became really, really fascinated by cellular health, by nutrient-dense foods, by healing my gut, which, by the way, I have recently enrolled in a pathway where I will be becoming a registered holistic nutrition. So it's pretty deep dive. It's going to take a couple years, but I'm so fascinated by nutrition, and it became a key piece to healing that capacity edge, right? And that capacity edge was, how do I allow myself to feel better than I've ever felt before? Right? So like the connection to body and vitality and vibrancy, and just like where my cells are just tingling and feeling alive, right? So I really did. And this is very common when we move through transformation, that at the level of body, every area requires an upgrade, like every area, right? Because we're making more space for our divinity to shine through into our physical world. And in order to like ground that, we need to be able to upgrade a lot, every area of life. But specifically, as I'm talking about, ecstatic wealth and this like vibrational breakthrough, one of the key pieces that really came through around ecstatic wealth is I was starting to really cultivate this. Again, I'm coming from like that place of really, I was working with money and prosperity and pleasure and all of those things for a long time. So for me, it was, where's the edge around this? All right. And I knew I was being called into more because there was boredom, there was dissatisfaction. That became a major clue around where I wasn't allowing myself to grow, right? So if you're experiencing boredom or dissatisfaction, and often within that too is disconnect, right? And I am actually, I'm a very connected person. I hear that all the time. I know I'm very connected, but the inner root system of who we are is so deep. It's so limitless. It's so vast. And we've got to be able to travel there first and foremost, right? And that can feel really foreign for some people. That can feel really unsafe for different reasons, right? And so we've got to be able to go there, and it can take some time to unearth the clarity, right? And that's like something, so kind of like a major key component that we look at as I journey with my women. I'm sitting here sipping on my green juice that I just made. Speaking of cellular health, right? Like I hold, a glass of like fresh, like green juice, just made this. And there's just this feeling of like, it's ecstatic to me. It's like the high vibe nutrition just feels so, so good in my system. So that became a key piece for me. I had to upgrade my digestion. I really started to flush out my liver and get things operating there. As a woman in my 40s too, I really had to change my relationship with like carbs and sugars. Really, I really had to shift that. And there's a lot of different reasons as to why that's important. But ultimately, I needed to get my system burning really clean. And I really wanted to feel that optimal sense of health and vitality. Right? And that was like all of a sudden like a key unlocked. I'm like, my body is feeling so good. Right. And so there was a capacity issue there. And I'm still to some degree working through little patterns with the Akashic record in terms of where I maybe take a step back in my ability to hold it for longer and longer and longer, right? So we have these capacity issues until they integrate and lock. And the next area that I really needed to look at was this in essence, like this feeling of feeling so good and so alive in my body was my physical body. Like really doing the activities and doing the things like dance and movement and actually like even being in my body and sensual flow, dance and movement, being really active, like all of those pieces are so essential to me feeling alive in my body and doing, whether it's food or whether it's like, fitness, I'm doing it in a way that actually feels really good to me. Right. So I've actually recently started like lifting weights and introducing a lot more cardio, but I'm doing it in a way that works for me. I need a lot of variety, right? I need a lot of variety. And when I have the variety, it feels really good. Like I feel really good. So paying attention to both my body and my nutrition became like a really, really vital piece. And that also really transferred over to how good I began feeling in my relationship to myself, my relationship with my husband, the spaces of intimacy that we shared. And then as I really started to explore this sense of like ecstatic wealth, right? This ecstatic wealth. And I really started to play around with this, like just the word ecstatic, right? Like, an ecstatic is like, it's a joy, it's a happiness, it brings tingles. It's the feeling of being alive and free. And we feel it at the cellular level, right? It's like the way we're meant to like dance and like live. Right. And we're always looking at where there's more room for that, right? And where we're reaching our capacity or where we're reaching an area of limitation. And there can be a lot of different reasons for that. It's really interesting because oftentimes what I uncover with clients is that it has to do with their relationship to their mother. And a client may have done a lot of work and they feel better and they feel more vibrant than their mother, but they're at a threshold because it's just beyond the vibration of their mother's highest capacity. So sometimes we have to actually untangle and clear different relationship agreements out because of the mother wound. We only allow ourselves to go forward so much, right? Without the fear of leaving our mothers behind in their own pain or their own limitation. So we can untangle and clear that. And sometimes it's just through awareness with a full permission to allow ourselves to be even more vital, right? And to know that it has a beautiful ripple effect through our lineage. This is the space where the Akashic records are actually often quite powerful and helpful. So as I began to really explore the ecstatic wealth path, which really essentially is the womb wealth path, right? It's the unlocking of our primal power, its relationship to our divine power, right? We're coming into a really beautiful, bold, and free expression, right? All throughout our bodies, all throughout our channels, right? And we're anchoring it in a very, very vibrationally powerful way. And also opening up to deeper spaces of nourishment, connection, vitality, and joy, right? If you just think about like the feeling of the natural world, right? Like the flowers and the birds and the bees and just like life pulsing through you, right? It's like, where do you and can you start to open up the way for that feeling, right? What are the next steps? What is the calling? Where do you gravitate to, or what do you nudge to that actually just like really brings that sense of just feeling so vital and so alive, right? Because ultimately it's like we want our wealth and our prosperity to be a vibrational outcome of the joy and the vibrant lives that we're living, right? We don't want to sacrifice, right? And this sense of like sacrificing is so habitual. And to a degree, even at that level in my business just a few years ago, where I was reaching the kind of numbers that, I had wanted to reach for quite a while, I still felt like in essence, I was sacrificing somewhere, something wasn't lining up. And it really did at the end have to do with the structure of my business too, and how I was serving in a way that I thought that I should. And even with a fair degree of spaciousness in my life, I still felt bored and also a little bit suffocated. So, really starting to, through my journey, identify where the new structures and systems needed to come into play to support a new experience of joy and vitality, right? And I went from having a fairly spacious life, like I always have weekends off, Thursdays off. We take quite a few holidays throughout the year. I always have Monday afternoons and Friday mornings are mine. To having and cultivating even more spaciousness and freedom for the things that absolutely feed me in the most delicious ways. And that includes, more connection time with the people that I love, that light me up, my vibrant sacred painting, that I absolutely love. I always have a painting right now. I'm doing this goddess Tara 21-day journey that I'm absolutely loving. Right. Gardening has become even more and more of like a passion for me, but time to cook a lot of our meals from scratch, long walks, you name it, like the space for even deeper nourishing self-care is there as a way to honor me with the systems and structures of my life and my business, supporting the way that I feel I am naturally designed to create, lead, flow, and flourish. And I know I'm using my story as an example, but this is exactly how I support my clients, right? This is exactly how I support my clients at different degrees of where they are in their ecstatic wealth path, right? At different degrees of where they are at leading from a deep, deep place of how they're naturally designed to create, lead, flow, and flourish. Right? And that marriage between our primal power and our divine power becomes extremely important at every stage of our evolution. So this is what I wanted to really bring forward. Also, if any of what I'm saying is really jumping out at you and you know that you're ready to claim your ecstatic wealth path, you're ready to step into more of your evolution, it is a big journey. It's a deep journey. Like you're shedding away a very old aspect of who you are, right? And it's all in honor of really this like leading edge consciousness of embodying more and more of the power of your divine feminine nature, right? And it shakes things up, and it's a harder journey to do alone. And that is why Feminine Phoenix Rising, this 9-moon soul initiation and ecstatic wealth path for visionary women who are ready to live their highest purpose. This program was born 5 years ago. I have worked with, I don't even know how many women. I guess I would say maybe 30. This is a private transformation. And so right now I've got the spaces starting to open for the 2024 year. So if this speaks to you, make sure and reach out, tara@tarapreston.com. But ultimately, what I want to leave you with is this sense of it gets to get better. It gets to get better. You get to feel so good in your body. You get to feel so good in your vitality. You get to feel so good in your spaces of intimacy. Right? You get to feel so vibrant in how you cultivate and connect to creative energy in your life, right? Whether that's through like food or artistry, or how you express yourself through your business or through what you wear, right? It's really that sense of vibrant creational energy that gets to pulsate through your experience and through your body, and a deeper, more congruent, aligned expression of you. right? And that's where the freedom comes in. And the journey, the transformation happens by you saying yes to you, by you taking the steps that are necessary, clearing out what doesn't serve, and by dropping in more fully, right, into deeper levels of the truth of who you are, right? The values that you possess, your desire to live, right? For me, when I was exploring ecstatic wealth, it really had nothing to do with a thing. I had ample opportunity. I had ample things, in my life. I kept looking at this, being with this sense of dissatisfaction and boredom, and it was not the things. Like, it was no thing that was lighting me up, right? But I was searching for a feeling, like more of that feeling. And I think that was like one of the trippier parts that kind of eluded me too, is it wasn't about the thing, right? A lot of the vision that I had for certain things and a certain way of life had really materialized. It was about the feeling, right? It was about the feeling. It was about experiencing and becoming more embodied in a greater sense of, well, ecstatic life, right? Coursing through me. And as I really started to anchor that, and as I started to claim that for myself, and as I started to give myself full permission to follow this path of ecstatic living, right? And really started to integrate it. Like, that's the key, right? It's like we create the vibrational set point in the vibrational field first. And it's also how we cultivate prosperity, right? We become a match to prosperity, right? The more nourished and expansive and full our vibration is, the more we come from a self-sourced place of knowing that we're more than enough, right? And that we have more than enough. Like, we start to build the vibration of prosperity, and from there, more prosperity starts to flow. And it's very similar with this, to me, ecstatic wealth was the elevation of that, right? Was the evolution of, like, prosperity consciousness is ecstatic wealth. How can I allow it to get better, right? How can I allow it to get better? How can I allow myself to just feel so good and have the experience of prosperity or money meet me in that place? So as I really started to fine tune all these different areas of my life in a way where I was giving myself vibrant permission, and and really a permission to, like, close out the things that were not, that was still bringing a sense of dissatisfaction or boredom, and to really give myself permission to close that out and to choose, the path of, where both my divine power and my primal power, where the womb was calling me into greater nourishment and vitality, and where the divine was guiding and leading through lightness, through a sense of joy. The inevitable outcome was more and more prosperity, right? But now in the space of feeling so congruent and so alive. So the final thing that I want to leave you with is to really, I think, if this is speaking to you, to really start to open up to and connect to your ecstatic vision, right? Your ecstatic vision, your ecstatic womb vision, right? What does a life that feels so ecstatic look and feel like, right? And I truly believe, and I've seen this so many times, as powerful creators, we go first, right? We have to go first, and then the money shows up, and then the wealth shows up. On the soulful path, as we step into new paradigm leadership, right? We're operating from the level of soul. We're operating from the level of authenticity. We're operating from the level of the feminine, the womb. And we have to go first from there, right? We have to get the clarity on what that ultimately looks like, become that version of ourselves, and then have money meet us in that place, right? The money doesn't offer the result, right? It's about becoming this version of ourselves in the process and having money meet us there. So whatever your ecstatic wealth vision is, right? Taking a moment or taking half an hour or a couple of weeks, right? What is the vision that just gets you so lit up, that you feel so nourished and optimal and alive and connected? And it's so easy to forget that this is our true nature, right? Because we don't live in that world that's encouraged it. We oftentimes don't have real examples of what that looks like around us. And often we've reached our own capacity. And if that's the case, we've got to dream and open up and expand and just tune into like what ecstatic wealth looks like to you, what it feels like in your body, right? How your womb pulsates with that feeling of just being so alive. I'm going to leave you with that. And if what I've shared today is speaking to you, if you know you're ready for your ecstatic wealth path, then reach out, Tara at tarapreston.com. We can set aside, this month I'm actually opening up a few spots for 30-minute prosperity breakthrough sessions. So reach out, schedule a time to connect, and we can explore how this pathway will serve and support you, the Feminine Phoenix Rising pathway. This is by far one of my most potent transformational private programs. Bye for now. I'll talk to you soon. Hello, friend. Thanks for joining us this week. If you'd like to stay in touch, head on over to the Akashic Women's Community on Facebook group. Come share your takeaways, your insights, your reflections. I would absolutely love to hear. If you'd like to deepen into any part of this work, head on over to the akashicwomenschool.com/free-gift and grab the Akashic Radiant Womb Awakening and Clearing Morning Practice to start to sink into your feminine power. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.